My brother framed me of rope 8 years ago, but the truth has finally been revealed. My brother Henry was always the golden child in the family. Growing up he could do no wrong. High school ended and I didn't complain much, but I felt I had to move out and explore things on my own as well. For the next few years, I went to college in a different city, and in 5 years got my MBA. I managed to land a job back in my home city. During this time, my contact with the family was minimal except for the birthdays and visiting them during the holidays. My brother was never the brightest of the bunch, since he barely managed to get through high school. He dropped out of college and my parents helped him set up a small shop dealing in hardware so he could get off his feet. I was happy for him, but I had my own life. I also had a girlfriend, Jenny, who I met in college and was from the same city. When we returned back home, we moved in together. She was also able to find a job soon enough and we started to focus on our lives and each other. It was during the holidays of 2006 when I introduced my family to her. They were surprisingly warm and receptive towards her and also made me feel more love than I had experienced in the past 22 years of my life. I noticed my brother was looking at her during that entire gathering but thought nothing of it. Since then, he started frequenting my apartment a bit too often. We went from meeting each other once in 3 months, to almost daily very quickly. At that point I had to draw boundaries and tell him that he's welcome occasionally, but I did not like his presence in my place daily as he came during the evening when Jenny and I were both at home and tried to unwind after a hectic day from work. That erupted into a huge fight with my parents. In the end he apologized and said that he would not bother me. Then onwards he used to come only once a month on a weekend, which I was okay with, and made attempts to make small talk with Jenna, which was still fine by me as it never was anything beyond that. Things went on this way for some time and in 2009, I proposed to her and we announced our engagement to the entire family. My parents were happy for me, but my brother just shook my hand and left the small party I'd organized for this occasion. After that I didn't see him for a couple of weeks. We got married in 2010, during which I noted my brother had a +1 named Kate and he told us that he was dating her. I thought maybe now he could finally move past whatever feelings he had for Jenny and focus on his own life. They moved real fast too, getting married almost 9 months later in 2011. Our marriage was going great. We had our first daughter Alice in 2011 and the second one Sarah in 2013. However, my brother's marriage did not progress as they hoped to, and they separated in 2012. A few weeks after the divorce was finalized, Kate messaged me that Henry was obsessed with Jenny and that was the biggest reason for their separation. I apologized to her and wished her the best. I also talked to Jenny and asked her about her interactions with Kate, and she told me that Kate always was a bit cold and distant towards her from the get-go. I decided to confront my brother in front of my family and asked him why is he destroying his life because of his obsession with my wife. He was blindsided with that question and denied everything. We had a massive argument that basically ended with me forgiving my brother and telling him that he is no longer welcome in my house. Both my parents and Jenny talked to me and convinced me that no matter what he was still family. So for everyone's sake I decided to be amicable. It was then that it felt like he was genuinely working on himself and we went on with our lives. Fast forward to 2015. I can still recall that day vividly. It was the 25th July and I was running multiple errands. My wife took both our kids to see their grandparents. It was sometime after lunch that I got a call from my father, telling me to come to their home and had a lot of anger in his tone. As soon as I entered, I noticed a lot of tension in the air. My wife was a crying mess and my parents were trying to console her. Some of my extended family members were there as well. I asked what happened, only to be hit by being called a rapist by my parents. I was shocked and confused. They claimed that a party I went to a couple of weeks back, I had decided to rope a girl, and then texted her to not tell anyone about it otherwise there will be consequences. I had known this girl Amanda for some time. We went to high school together and she was a part of the larger friends group that I occasionally hung out with. As per her, after the party, which was at a club, I followed her to her car and did it there. She shared screenshots of the alleged conversation with my wife and told her this entire tale. My father slapped me hard and my parents told me that they never want to see my face again. Jenny was angry and she said that we're done. I tried to convince all of them that I never did that but fell on deaf ears. I was basically kicked out from their house and told that neither Jenny nor the kids would be returning and my father would be coming over to take their stuff to my apartment. When my father came, I begged and pleaded but he basically packed a couple of bags and told me never ever to contact them again and that he would personally hand me to the cops if that happened. By evening Henry had shared the screenshots and all the details to our extended family group on WhatsApp from where I was unanimously kicked out. The next few days, I even had people from my friend group calling me to say they were disgusted with me and never to contact them again. I was a mess during that time. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't even properly work. My boss also heard the rumors going around but couldn't do much until he saw some police action against me. He advised me that I leave the organization on my own to keep my record intact and that he would ensure that I don't have to even serve my notice period. I tried to argue the case, but he told me that if the cops come knocking on my door, he would be kicked out anyways, and in such a scenario and the gravity of the case meant I won't get severance and my record will be tarnished. I grudgingly agreed to his ask and I left the organization in the next few days. In mid-August, while I was still wallowing in my misery, I received 2 documents from the court. One was a letter of disownment and the other were divorce papers. I was quite intoxicated but I went to my parents' place anyway, only for my brother to come and lay hands on me and tell me that I was a disgrace to the family and it was good that I was disowned. I had blood coming out of my face by the time he was done with me and barely able to stand. My parents and my wife looked at me from afar but did nothing. I managed to get myself up after some time, a crying mess, and realized that I had lost everything and everyone I knew. I stayed holed up in my apartment for the duration of the divorce. It went as amicably as it could. As I was jobless, plus my now ex-parents stated they would pay for the child, I didn't have to pay child support or any alimony. By January 2016 I was divorced, but trying to pick up the pieces that was once my life was hard. During this time, I also felt like confronting Amanda, but the more I thought about it the more I realized it could have made matters worse for me due to the women-centric laws in my country meant one phone call and I would be looking at 5 to 6 years in jail.